Have you been really bored in a meeting? When was the last time you were on a teleconference and you just muted yourself and you just started working on your own? When was the last time someone was actually talking to you using slides and all you thought to yourself was, I'm going to ask for the slides later and I'll go through it by myself? Why? It is because these people fall into one of these three communication traps. Here's the thing. The three traps happen both in person as well as in the virtual world. When we avoid these traps, not only virtually but in person, we become master communicators. Let's jump into the first one that we all fall into. And by the way, I am guilty of all of these traps myself, and I'm always trying to work on them as a corporate trainer, as an international branding coach, as a friend, and even as a daughter myself. So the first trap is speaking in third person. That's when we use things like we, they versus I, and you. It's the difference between giving advice and telling a story. It's the difference between telling someone what to do versus saying, this is what happened when I did this. It's the reason why evidence doesn't bring change to people's minds, but one Facebook post will do the job. Let me give you an example. So let's pretend I'm giving a lecture on how to be healthier. And I tell you something like this. When we are going out, it's important that we realize that the choices we make, even when we go to coffee shops, are very important. And that liquid calories are important things to watch out for. Because many at times when people are consuming liquids, they don't realize that they are consuming calories. And you are not listening anymore. Right? While you were watching this, you probably just did like, But what if I said something like this? For a week, when I went to Starbucks, I stopped buying all the specialty drinks and I only drank Americanos. And for a week, I noticed that I was consuming a lot less calories and I lost a few pounds. The difference once again, they, third person versus me. The next time you are up late at night and you're watching an infomercial, like one of those fitness ones, you could be the best shape of your life. Think about what are they actually doing? What are they actually showing you? The vast majority of infomercials focuses on I. If someone said this, look at, I did this and this is what happens to me. And it's all written that the results are not even common. And you know the chances of those results are not common. But still, you are convinced, you are excited, and you still want to try. That's because they switch from we, they to I. So that's the first trap, speaking in third person. Now, the second trap that we fall into when we're speaking, whether in person or even virtually, is that we want to avoid speaking with a formal language. It's speaking using words and phrases that, we don't normally use when we're talking to a friend, or even when we're talking to someone on a one-to-one basis. It's the difference between, saying something like, when we're looking at our customers, it's important to value what their motivations are and understand their buying habits. Versus when we're saying, we need to know why people are coming into our stores and we need to understand why they are buying those things. See the difference? Or if I go back to the very first trap, avoiding third person, it's like saying, you know what? I realized that when I was waiting in the line at Starbucks, almost everybody paid with their apps. Maybe we should look into getting an app to make it easier for our customers to buy stuff from our store. Versus, we need to leverage on current technology to make it easier to facilitate interactions with our customers. Which one will make a better impact on you? Now, I know what you're saying. Amelia, I work in a formal environment. We need to speak formally. Let me answer that in two ways. Number one, do you? Do you? Really? And number two, suppose I can't go up to my boss and be like, listen, boss, I can't talk like that, right? Or maybe we don't have that kind of relationship. Fine. Why not do this? Start with a formal language, but end off with a sentence or two that's talking like a human being. We can pretend like, oh yeah, the formal language is what I want. But then what we'll actually remember is the real thing that you said, the I, the anecdote that you share like a real human being. So with this trap, we don't have to avoid it completely. We want to try and avoid it as much as we can, or we want to fall into it but have a little ladder of normal communication so that we can kind of get back up and talk to them like a normal friend. Now, the third trap is the biggest one and is the hardest to get over. Too many details when we're speaking. Have you ever been in a situation whereby you're talking to a group? Let's say you're on a teleconference, or let's say you're on a Skype chat. Or maybe you're even talking in person. And you're talking, and as you keep on going, you realize that you don't know how to finish up your point. And I just keep on going, and then finally you kind of just end it like, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say for this part. Does anyone have any questions or anything? And then awkward, right? So when we think about it, when we communicate, whether it is in video or whether it is via email or in person, we have to ask ourselves this question. Has the way we communicated virtually affected the way we communicated in person? The answer is yes. Ask yourself, where is this trend going? Is it going towards long, in-depth, detailed meetings, hour-long conversations? Or is it boom, 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 little snippets? Let's talk for 2 minutes. The answer is, let's talk for 1 minute. So our virtual communication has definitely affected our in-person communication. Now here's the problem. When we're on a video chat, when we're trying to sell a point, when we're trying to explain a situation, we think that giving all the details is an important thing. Giving you as much information as possible so that you can absorb it all and then you can make the best decision. But when do you absorb details? It's never when you're communicating. It's always when you're alone. That's why you say things like, can you send me a summary? Could you send me those slides? You know what? I need some time to rest on these details. I'll get back to you. So we think that by giving people more information, by overloading people with the details and information, we are enhancing our communication. But in fact, we are hurting it. So what do people want? So when we're communicating, whether it is in a teleconference, whether it is in person, what do people want? How do we avoid falling into this trap of giving too many details? Well, here's two things. One is that you want them to get curious about your idea so that they want to find out more of their own afterwards. So at the end of your discussion, you want someone to come up to you and be like, you know what? I need more details on this. Can both of us get on a one-to-one offline conversation? Or can you send me more details about this? I would love to know more. Or secondly, instead of a lot of details and a list of information, they actually want a picture. A picture up here. So think of this as a concept. Not a lot of details, not a lot of information, just one vivid detail. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, I worked on a resort in a beautiful island that was in the Caribbean, in the South Atlantic. And it was a really, really nice, it's really a small island, and when you get there, it's like no other beaches. There's no other beaches that is that accessible. You had to drive like 2 hours to get to that location, and it's very hard to get to it. I worked on this beach that's like 2 kilometers long, and it sort of has that curve on its own, and the sand was just perfect white. And then when you looked at the water, you're already finding it hard to keep track of all the stuff that I'm telling you, right? Because I'm feeding you with a ton of details and I'm giving you a list of information. What if I said this? Imagine the perfect beach for a vacation. That's where I used to work. You've already assumed it's nice and warm. You've already assumed that it's a beautiful beach with sand and waves. And that's the difference between details and vivid detail. Speaking in pictures instead of a list of information, just one vivid detail is enough. Practice and you will build a muscle for it. Now, we have identified all 3 of these communication traps that people often fall into when we're communicating. Number 1, speaking in third person. Number 2, using formal language. And number 3, oh, this is a big one because remember that all of us fall into this, and that is too many detail. Now, the most important thing to realize is that these traps do exist, but which one do you fall into? Leave in the comment section below which one of these traps do you fall into. Speaking in third person, using a formal language, or too many details. If you have gained something from this video, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you will never miss another video like this. For more information or more videos on workplace communication secrets, check out my other videos in the Workplace Communication Secrets playlist right over here, and I'll see you in the next video.